builder tool, I can drag across, holding nothing down, just drag across them, kind of draw a line through all three, and hey presto, it's one unit. Cool, huh? And remember the other use for coloring parts? We're going to add some kind of like fake shadow. So let's grab the line segment tool, and I'm going to draw like a line. I'm going to zoom in a bit so you can see. I'm going to draw a line segment that kind of goes from there down to there. You can draw all the way through. Let's do it all the way through just so you can see what to do with the leftover bits. I'm going to do you. So I've drawn a line through it. I'm going to grab my black arrow, and I need to click both the nose and this line. Your line might have a big thick stroke on it. That's fine. It doesn't matter. All we need to do is have that selected, hold shift and click the nose. So you've got both of them selected. Back to my handy dandy shape builder tool. And remember, for coloring, we need to have the shape builder selected first, then go to fill. Okay, then pick a color. I'm just going to pick a kind of a lighter gray, and I'm just going to click on this, maybe a slightly darker version. It's meant to be light hitting its peak anyway. So it's worked. I colored it, but this is an overlapping hanging bit. Now remember what key to hold down to remove things. It's Alt on a PC, Option on a Mac, and I can just click on it. Cool, huh? Love that stuff. All right, next thing I want to do is same with this, and it's just a repeat. So I'm going to grab my line tool. I'm going to draw like a little highlight that kind of goes through here. Shift click them both. Now what you would have noticed there, or might not have noticed, is that I started using a shortcut. And I'm going to show you just because shortcuts are great. So I was on my line segment tool, I drew it through here, then I wanted to go back to my move tool. And the move tool, if I hover above it, can you see it has a little V in brackets? That just means that if I click my V key on my keyboard, so it's not on there at the moment, watch this, V key, jumps. Okay, if I want to go to my shape builder tool, it's a weird one, it's Shift M. I use it all the time because I use this tool all the time. Okay, Shift M. So if you're using the pencil tool all the time, okay, you can see N is. So N, I don't use it the pencil tool very often, so I don't even know what that shortcut is, but I know V is the move key. I know Shift M is the quick selection tool, is the shape builder tool. I know P is the pen tool, T is the type tool, just the stuff you use very often. Just hover above it and it will give you the shortcut. Some of them don't have some because they just don't get used very much. All right, so V key, I've got them both selected. Shift M to my shape builder tool. I'm going to pick a fill color, my friend, of that dark gray. Click it once. Hold down my Alt key or Option key on a Mac. Cool, huh? All right, one more cast shadow, and then we'll do one more special trick that the shape builder can do. So don't leave just yet. So first of all, I want to join these two fellas together. Okay, so I'm going to hold Shift, click both of them, go to my shape builder tool, draw a line through them. So they're all one unit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate it. So I'm going to go back to my black arrow. I'm going to copy it using Edit Copy, then Edit Paste. So I've got this little speech bubble. That's what his body's built out of. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of offset it a little bit. Now, because my smart guides are on, it's very clever and tries to kind of line everything up, which is exactly what I want. Actually, what I might do is do something like that where it's kind of just down a little bit. So now what I want to do is I'm going to select both of them. So Shift, click both of them. If you're not sure if you've got both of them, just kind of move them and then undo it to go back. And I use this for that kind of vector cast shadows all the time. We're going to use the same trick. Pick a fill color. I'm going to use that lighter gray. That doesn't work unless you're on the shape builder tool. I was on my selection tool there. So when I changed my fill, it just changed everything. Make sure you're on your shape builder first. Pick your fill color. And then over here, just click on that once. Okay, go your black arrow. I've got all this junk left over. Okay, this thing here, I don't need him anymore. Delete. I used him just to kind of get that. Ooh, it's a bit bright. Is that better? You get what I mean, right? So I used it to cast the shadow. There's a weird thing down the bottom here. I'm not sure where he came from. I'm going to hit delete. He's gone. So I promised you one other little trick you can do with the shape builder tool is that remember when this tail was separate from the back? Okay, now that they've joined with the shape builder tool, it allows you to do cool things like this. Grab your white arrow. We've been using the black arrow quite a bit. Okay, the black arrow is perfect for moving big lumps around, the whole thing. Everything needs to go. If I use the white arrow is for moving little parts within that lump. Okay, so let's say it is this corner here. If I use the black arrow to move this corner, it moves everything. Okay, but if I grab the white arrow, click on the corner once, then try and drag it, I get kind of little bits of individual control. And we'll look at that a little bit more when we use the pen tool. But for the moment, the cool thing about it is it says, I'm going to click on here and you get this corner radius. Can you see it? The little dot on the inside of the angle. I can click and drag it up and I get these kind of nice curves. Do the same thing for the gray one. Click and drag him up. I can get these nice kind of angles going on. You can do the same for this dot here. Remember, click it with the white arrow. It's called the direct selection tool. Okay, white arrow, grab, you might have to zoom in a bit. If you find it a little hard to work on, grab that and just tuck him in. Cool, huh? So you've got any points that you're like, I like them, but I just want them to be curved. Curve tool. They are cool. Corner options, and they are awesome. All right, so that's our penguin with some cast shadows and some holes cut in things. It's called the shape builder tool. I should finish it there, but I'm not. I'm gonna grab the line tool and I'm gonna cast a shadow, I don't know, in the water from the land. Okay, holding shift, grab them both. Pick a fill color. Remember, this is not going to work. Okay, we've got to have, I'm going to undo. You got to have the shape builder tool first. I'll leave it in there because you'll do the same thing. I do it all the time. I should know what I'm doing. I'm going to pick a color from my swatches and now I'm going to click it in there. Click off in the background, black arrow. Oh yeah. It's cool. It all kind of suits except for this thing where we drew. I want to delete them so bad, but we'll come back later on and I will show you how to give them a bit more flavor using something called brushes. But for the moment, we're going to move on to the next video where we create a kind of custom logo. What I really want to do is show you how the shape builder tool works when we're not just drawing penguins, but when we're working, say, with icons or logos. And we'll do that in the next video. Hi there, in this tutorial we are going to turn this pile of lines into this M that looks like it's kind of wrapping around on itself. We're going to use our shape builder tool again, but we're going to learn other tricks and tips for it so you can continue your mastery of Illustrator. Let's jump in and get started. Alright, to get started with this one, it's going to go to File and we're going to go to a brand new document. So File, New. Mine's defaulted to my recent items. If yours hasn't, go to Print, go to US Letter or A4. I'm going to pick a landscape just cause. And down here under Advanced Options, I'm going to switch it up to RGB. Okay, let's click Create. Let's save it. So File, Save. I was using my shortcut there. File, Save is Command S on a Mac, Control S on a PC. And on my desktop, I've got my class files. Oh man, how efficient are we? This is going to be my M logo. And often when I'm working on things, anything in Illustrator, I'll put a V1 at the end and a V2 and a V3 when I'm kind of doing updates. Never call it just logo, because then you have to come up with something else for your number 2. And it might be 2, or you might put in, never put in final. Final's like the kiss of death, because then you have to come up with final 2 and final revisited. Clever name. So I find the V1, V2, V3 works just fine. Some people like to put the date at the end. Up to you. My logo V1 sounds good to me. Click Save. Never have to change this. Just click OK. And to center my document, Command 0 on my keyboard. Okay, just to get it right in the middle. If you're on a PC, it's Control 0. Alright, so I'm going to draw my logo using straight lines. Okay, and we're going to use the shape builder to kind of delete the bits we don't. Good project to see how useful the shape builder tool is. Creating some just more stranger shapes. So we're going to use the line segment tool. I'm going to draw all out of lines. And I want a straight line up and down. If I click and drag though, remember it goes any which way I drag it. But what key could I hold down on my keyboard to get it to go straight? You guessed it, Shift key. Okay, if I hold down the Shift key, it locks it into 45-degree increments, and I just want it to be straight up and down. Okay, so I'm going to drag it down. How long? Everyone's M going to look a little different. I'm just going to freehand it. So I want 2 of these little lines. So with my black arrow, I'm going to go to Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste. So I had it selected, Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste, grab the center, drag it along, and it should try and line up. If it doesn't try and line up, just make sure you're under View, your Smart Guides is turned on, should be a little tick next to it. If it's not, give it a click, and you should start working. So let's group these 2. Okay, Object, let's group them. Because I want to, with them selected, go to Copy, go to Paste. So I've got a second set. I'm going to draw the kind of like the inner part of the M, okay, at an angle. And remember, just using my black arrow, some vaguely outside of the corner, we get the little bent arrow. Click and drag it until you feel like you've got the angle right. And there is no right, I'm just kind of drawing something. Also make sure that they overlap quite a bit. Why? Because we're going to kind of get them overlap and use our trick that we used when we did the shadows to kind of fill in things and snip off the lines we don't need. So if they're not quite long enough, you can just drag the ends like this to make them a bit longer. What we'll also do is we'll group these two together, because what we want to do now is, like, instead of trying to get the right angle on the other side, is we're just going to reflect this one across. So what we're going to do is select them both. Let's group them just to make it easier on ourselves. And then go up to Object, and there's one in here called, so Object, Transform, there's one in here called Reflect. Now weirdly, your preview is not going to be on. Okay, so it's weird. Horizontal, vertical, picking an angle, it doesn't matter. It's not going to show up over here. So what you need to do is turn on preview, so that if you're like me and you're like vertical, horizontal, there's even a little handy icon there. Thank you. Okay, if I click OK now, the trouble with it is that it's kind of deleted my original and reflected it across. That's what this little copy button here means. It means that I can make a copy of it and flip it, leaving the original there. Let's just click the button down and see what it does. So there you go. You've got the original, there is there, and the new one. If you just click OK, you'll only have this fella left. So what I'd like to do is kind of line them up roughly so they look like an M. Don't worry too much about it, what kind of M you have. I'm trying to visualize the M in those sticks. What I want to do though is make sure that they're aligned, because at the moment I think this one hangs down a lower than this one. So I'm going to select both of them and I'm going to say let's arrange. It doesn't really matter which one, but it needs to be vertically. There you go. So at least all the way down the bottom there together. Okay, next thing I want to do is zoom in a little bit. I'm going to use lines to kind of cap these ends off. So I'm going to use my line tool, no fill, black stroke. I'm going to use 1 point. And what I'm going to do is, watch this. If I hover above this, okay, line, you can see this is where it says path. Path is the name that Illustrator, it's the nerdy name for a line. Okay, so Illustrator will call it paths. The cool thing about it is, see this where it gets up to here where these two lines join? It says intersect. It just means, do you want to draw something that intersects these two lines? And be like, yeah, that's awesome. Thank you, Illustrator. I want to click, hold, and drag it. And what you want to notice is that, what's the handy shortcut? I can make it to go straight. That's right, Shift. And I find with using this tool, it's always better to go past where you need it. It's easy to trim off, but sometimes it can be a little bit, if you don't quite get it banged in there perfectly, I find just going past where you need it to be is a lot better. Same thing over here, clicked and dragged all the way through. What I might do for this one here is click, hold, and just drag through then I need it. Gives me a better result. Same with these bottom ones, I'm going to click, hold, and drag across all of these, all the way through. And now we're going to use our super fancy shape builder tool to trim off all the stuff we don't need. So black arrow, draw a box around it all, make sure you've got it all selected. We're going to grab our shape builder tool and we're going to start deleting things. To delete things, remember, what key do you hold down? That's right, Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC, and click and drag through all of this stuff. Sometimes you need to do it twice, just because. Okay, drag through it all. Clicking and dragging through. You can just click them once, or click them again. Sometimes you gotta click them a few times. There's some stuff in here I want to drag past. Get rid of you, get rid of you, get rid of you. Drag through all of that, through all of that. There we go. We've kind of trimmed it up to something that looks a little bit nicer, at least more like an M. Now I want to kind of make it so that this bit goes all the way and that joins it across. So remember, you don't have to hold anything down to join them up. So I'm going to click and drag across all three of these to make it one unit. I'm going to drag these two to kind of get this like folded origami M type thing. Probably the most overused branding thing in the world. Folded M-shaped paper stuff. That's all right. I'm sure if you Google it, you'll find 100 logos that look like this. But what I hope that you got out of that is showing you how you can kind of create something out of nothing, just using simple lines. It doesn't have to be complete shapes or rounded corners. You can just draw a pile of sticks. So you could hand draw it with your pencil tool, which we'll do in an upcoming video, and then tidy it up with the shape builder tool. So you can move on now. All I'm going to do is I'm going to color it, okay? And what you'll notice that, can you see this is actually separate parts now? It's not actually a full unit, so I'm going to select it all and color it using my shape builder tool. I go on about the shape builder tool being my favorite. It's because I've taught Illustrator for years and years, maybe, I don't even know, 15 years. And up until shape builder tool got made, man, it was hard teaching people Illustrator, but it's easier now anyway. So I've got it all selected with my black arrow. I've shifted to my shape builder tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a fill color. I'm going to say I'm going to just work with black and white. We'll deal with color a little bit nicer later on in the course, so hang out for that. I'm going to pick a darkish color to do that one. And maybe that one. We'll work it out. winging this. We'll use a slightly lighter grey for this one, and even lighter grey for this one. Even lighter. Come on, Dan. And this last one here,